Awesome, guys. All right. Well, this is OT, option trader. I'm filling in for Jay today. It is September 17th. Just doing a little post-market wrap up and review of some of the flow and some of the names that we're seeing. A little pre-Fed. Tomorrow's going to be an interesting day. I thought today would be a little bit more mellow, but we did get some stuff moving, so that was a nice surprise. We'll also do a quick brief plug on the master course for those of you guys who have not experienced it. There was a kind of the wrap up of the last master course last night, and I was on there for the psychology last session, and it was just really highly recommend it. Lucci was very transparent, and it was really just great to see his struggles and how he's overcome them, and he really kind of humanizes things. And so I just would strongly recommend the master course for you guys who haven't gotten in there. Then if you guys are a part of it, definitely catching the recording of that psychology session last night. That was incredible. So, all right, we'll get to it. So let me make sure I've got my screen here. Okay, perfect. Okay. All right, you guys. So I'll probably start with kind of piecing in a little more on the sentiment side first, and kind of going top down, and then we can get into some names. And if you guys know me at all, I incorporate flow with some technicals as well. So it'll be a little bit different take than Jay, but hopefully you guys will like it. So let's go into sentiment. So I want to talk broadly real quick. And coming into this, this kind of a move, we had, and Jay had talked about this over the weekend, that we had sector sentiment charts that were a little heated in the moment, but we had, there we go, okay. But we had, sorry, my audio was having an issue there. Yeah, so I was interesting though, guys, is so close to all-time highs here that I picked up on. I want to talk again kind of broadly so you guys can have an idea on this. Is that Bank of America Merrill Lynch bull bear indicator. So for it to be up near the, or I'm sorry, down near the, like there was a 0.01, I'll find it in here somewhere. Let's see. I'm actually, well, hopefully you guys know the indicator. I can probably pull it off private Twitter or something if you guys need it. But the Bank of America Merrill Lynch bull bear indicator was sitting at I think 0.7 or something like that. Suggesting, I've never really seen it personally this close to all-time highs. So from a very macro perspective, you pair that kind of an indicator with the fact that everyone's talking recession on TV, and those guys are going to be wrong in the short term. When they featured on CNBC, that's probably the time to be going the opposite way, obviously, as we've seen from the markets in turmoil specials are great buying opportunities, obviously. So, you do have a lot of charts that are really building constructively. There's some great longer term ones that we'll work through today real quick. Something like the Caterpillar has been looking a lot more healthy, about to break out of a weekly downtrend line. You've got NVIDIA broke out really nicely. So there's there's going to be a few names that are looking a lot better, as well as some of the the names that have been beaten up for a while. Obviously, we saw that rotation early last week, that was pretty significant. So again, just talking kind of top down, this is not really the time, in my opinion, to be macro super bearish. Doesn't mean we can't have a little pull here, but when I see an indicator like that, Bank of America bull bear, I do think that I want to be looking as a long-term or mid-term buyer. Again, there's going to be some opportunities for a pull, and it could be even a decent size pull at some point. But anyway, we'll start there. Let's go into some of the charts, and then again, I'll piece back into the sentiment in a little bit. But so here's the chart of the SPX on the daily. There is you can see here, guys, I've talked about this quite a bit. From a technical standpoint, you have, trending markets are ones that stay above this 8 and 21 EMA. And so you've got, you can see back in, this chart's a little bit messy, I apologize, but you can see back in here in the June move, when we were trending below this 21 EMA here on the SPX for a while. And then once we broke out of that, it was really, really important to break over that 50. And then we kind of held for a few days and chopped. Very similar to this move here that was very, very healthy, in my opinion. So again, if we were to make a move back under and stay under these moving averages in the SPX, then I would tend to get a little bit more cautious in the kind of short to midterm. I do think, again, there could be a quick move down here, but I do think from a macro perspective, I think it will be bought. But again, you take things with a grain of salt and take things day by day with the flow here. Let's go into. I want to go into. So here's some SPX levels, guys. Just so you know, the top of the SPX trend line. I'll bring. Let's see, 1 second. Let me bring in my TOS for a second. There we go. Okay. Okay, so I know this is a little bit messy, so I'll get rid of it here in a second. But just the only thing I want to show you guys is right now the top of this range from the highs back in the blow off move 2018, early in January, and then we tested it before that kind of rollover / crash last year, and then we tested it recently and failed. That move would be right now, it would be a move back to about 30-40 if it was, in the very, very short term. Obviously, this trend line is moving up, so just something to be aware of on the upside targets if we were to have some type of blow off move here with the Fed. Just kind of keep that area in mind. That's an area of caution, in my opinion, just in the kind of the medium term to watch out for. So around 30-40 right now, but let me put this out here. Okay. All right, so there's the SPX real quick. Again, just here are the levels to watch out for. I think there is some support here. If I want to peel it down, right, there's a little support range, and a lot of people have talked about this, but this range here from like 29.58 all the way down to 29.47 ish. So it's kind of right in there is the support zone. Obviously the 50s there too, which is going to be an interesting spot. So if we get some weakness in the short term, I think that would be a very, very good spot to look for a quick bounce. And like I told you earlier, we wouldn't want to see these moving averages roll over too much. It can kind of come down for a quick second and get some bull flow, and then keep going, but we don't want to see it break this area and roll over again. That would be a definite negative in the midterm. So, all right, let me go over the IWM. A lot of people have asked about this recently, and just wanted to kind of give you what the levels on it. The overall index, the rut here is showed some really, really good levels to watch. This level down here, it's like 1454. Was mentioning it back in, go zoom in here, guys. All right, so I was mentioning it back in at these lows here in late August, and had a really nice kick off this line. We had, let's see, let's go into my IWM chart here. So I want you guys to see it. We had, and I won't break down the entire trade, but this is the daily chart. We had this downtrend line here, guys, and we had some really nice flow that came in literally right at the lows, and then they kept hitting this thing the whole way through. It was a really, really good trade in the IWM. But reason I mention this is just, again, keep perspective. There's a little downtrend line here on the daily that we've rejected a couple times. So let's just kind of keep that in mind going into the Fed. Obviously, I think the close tomorrow and a lot of these indexes and a lot of the names is going to be really significant, as there might be some volatility, obviously, throughout the day tomorrow, to be expected. So again, right now, just so you guys know, in the IWM, that area tomorrow on the daily close would be something around like 158.08, something like that. Yeah. So a close over that would be increasingly bullish already. And then if we were to break down here, I think we may have to retest some of the support. But just wanted to mention again that there's that daily downtrend line, then you have this really nice support back in here at 1454 to watch out for, kind of on the big term stuff. So let me get into the DIA, and then we can start hammering through some names and some flow from today. Let's go into let's see, where is my chart here? All right. Here's the DIA chart. It's a 2-hour chart that I've used quite a bit over the last few months. It's worked pretty well. And I apologize for being pretty messy here, but I wanted to show you guys. If I go back even a little bit more. Okay. So if you guys see this this pattern that we had back at our previous highs recently in kind of mid-July, what we had was kind of maybe a rising wedge here that we broke out of the top, and we were able to consolidate for a little while, and then unfortunately that's what caused the rollover once we broke down out of that pattern. And you can see we actually, during the craziness early August, we actually once we broke it, we retested it perfectly and failed while this 50 period moving average was rolling over. So that was an interesting thing to watch on this particular 2-hour chart. It's really foretold a lot of great moves. So the only reason I bring it up again is to give you guys some perspective. This is a bit of a rising wedge here as well. We already broke out of the top, kind of tested these former highs, broke back into the formation here. And so now the levels I'm watching on the DIA for you guys. Let's see. All right. So I want to see, can we, into this Fed, do we maybe gap down tomorrow and push? Do we, I'd like to see this bottom trend of the wedge here be tested again. So if we did, gap down or during the volatility tomorrow, if we hold this area and push again, I think that's a nice sign that this pattern is a little bit more legit. But just something that I'll try to update some of the guys in the steam room with a little bit here and there. But again, just kind of pieces to the overall puzzle that I wanted to go over in a few of the indexes. So all right, so let's go into a couple of the names. If you guys don't mind, let me bring up some questions too, so you guys, so I can see here. All right. Okay, so let's go into, I think one of the orders that I wanted to check today. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, let's see. I want to do give me 1 second here, guys. I was trying to find. Okay, so I think a lot of people were asking about Shopify here, and I'll just kind of bounce around a little bit, and then we'll take some questions here. So here's the technical chart on Shopify. It's a little bit messy in the short term, so let me break this thing down. I won't get into as much of the previous breakdown. That was a really nice call that we had there, but more just talking about this in the short term with respect to flow. So this is the hourly chart here, guys. We actually had a sweeper come in at a guy bought the 340, or I'm sorry, bought the 335 calls end of the month, September 27th. And I'll show you the sweep here. I can bring it in for a second. As you can see, it's this order here. So we came in right off the open and swept these. We had a little gap down in Shopify here. So I wanted to notate some of the levels. If that guy's going to get paid, in my opinion, this previous area here, these lows and these lows in here is going to break. And once we break over this, I think you can get a pretty legitimate move for at least a good 10 to 15 points. That level, just so you guys are aware, is 335.06, and I think it's on the hourly. I can go into a shorter time frame. Yeah, I could probably do the 30-minute too. So if we're able to get over that, I think then you've got a nice move to the high 340s, and again, all based on flow and stuff, but that's probably what that guy is going for. So that was a good sweep. I would just interpret the fact that it's September 27th, so it's about 8 days out. That he could be a day early, or maybe the morning weakness tomorrow. I think he's down a little bit from that initial sweep, but wanted to at least call out some of those levels, because Shopify has been a really great trade. Obviously, Lucci crushed that on the put side and the short call side throughout a lot of those downdrafts, but this may be in the short term, this may be reversing. So we'll have to play it day by day on that one. I'm going to go over BHC. This is something that I've talked with a couple of the guys in the room about. It's a little bit of a technical lesson. I won't get into too much, but this is an hourly chart on the BHC, and you can tell I drew this downtrend line, this main one here that you see. I drew it from the highs back in early July, and then we have tested it late July before the overall market rolled over, and then tested it very, very briefly here before breaking out with some flow actually that caught this. And then now we're retesting. And so I think if you look at something like this on even like a daily chart, from a risk reward perspective, and there's a lot of examples that I could give you guys maybe on another webinar, a little more in depth, but for you technical analysis fans, if you get a breakout and something really kind of clean, and then it comes down and retests like this, I think so perfectly, and get some flow, I think it's definitely worth a look. There was a sweep that came in. I'll go into it real quick. It was in the money, so I'd like to see it a little bit different, but yeah, so here we go. So this guy came in today right here and bought the October $20 calls, and obviously again in the money. I paid $340,000 though, so decent premium outlay. I would personally prefer to see an at the money sweep, or like 1 or 2 strikes out of the money. That would be a stronger indication for me than in the money sweepers, which are a little bit more conservative on my targets when I get an in the money sweeper. But something like this is still pretty decent confirmation that this chart that we're seeing is going to be worth a try. And then especially if they come in and sweep this thing in some shorter term strikes and expirations rather, I think that'd be a pretty good opportunity to look long on the BHC. All right. Okay, let's go over, again, apologize for skipping around, but let's go over the banks a little bit, because there's been some decent flow there. I want to talk briefly on one of them, on JP Morgan. I had mentioned this area to a few people in the room, that this area up here, this $119.19 was a resistance from some previous highs. We broke over it, what was that, Thursday, I think? Yeah, Thursday? No, it's Friday, I'm sorry. So we broke over it Friday, which, and JPM did catch some pretty good action. There were some leap buyers as well, but it was a little bit cooked after this entire move. So I did want to see, just for me personally, if you weren't in it from down in here, or even in some of these, like there was some shorter term technical breakouts and some flow that kind of from the 114s and change. If you were thinking about buying it up here, I think it was smart to just hold a little bit and wait for a couple days of confirmation. I was a little bit concerned that this thing gapped below and kind of held underneath that this breakout yesterday at 119.19, and then obviously today we caught a pretty decent little short-term down move to flush some sentiment out in JP Morgan. Take a look at this quick chart. I want to show you guys. This was actually kind of disgusting. I went back right before this webinar and kind of in prepping. and I saw this old chart that I had. Look where this thing bounced from today and hammered. So that's actually that kind of a daily candle is a pretty good looking candle on this formation, which again, this was more of a thesis for me. I didn't know if this was a valid kind of slight up channel line, but for it to come down and test so perfectly, I think I'm going to be watching more of this. So again, for you technical analysis fans, if we get any flow in JP Morgan or the banks, we get a gap up tomorrow above the high of 118.61. I think then you might be able to get a push again to that previous high at least of 120.40 in JP Morgan. And again, watch for, let me see if I can find, yeah, let me try to find the monster. I think it was a leap buyer. Let me see if I can get it. Give me 1 second, you guys. Let's see if I can search for it. Give me 1 second. Okay, here we go. Okay, so on September, it was a little bit earlier than I thought. So this guy on September 10th took a nice leap bet on the again in the money, but a pretty sizable sweep here. 450 contracts at $22 a contract of the 100 calls for June of 2021. So that was just again that guy could be weeks or months early, but something like that I just wanted to at least point out to you guys. Obviously, to look for some shorter term flow to confirm it, but let's just keep that one in mind. One bank that I'm a little more bearish on is, and it caught some good flow that we can go over, is this Schwab. Let's see. Okay. So this downtrend line in Schwab has nailed some really good moves. There was some put flow right here back in late July that caught this downdraft actually a little bit earlier than the market rollover. It was a really good good flow there. We did catch some recent put flow that concerns me a little bit on this name. I think, let me go into it. Give me 1 second, just trying to find it here, guys, for you. Okay. So on the 16th, yeah, so I guess it was yesterday, yeah. So they hit these October 44 puts, paid $1.75 here. And again, it's kind of nice because it gives it a little bit of time, but a pretty sizable bet in this kind of name. There was actually, I think there was some shorter term repeats as well. Let me just make sure. Yep, there was a repeat today. So when they come in and hit this thing shorter term like this, I think that's a really good indication for me that this thing might be ready to roll over. When they come into, when they move up in expirations, really tells me that they're getting more aggressive, and something I like to see. So as far as brokerages, it's obviously not a traditional bank, but a brokerage goes, I'd just be a little bit aware of these levels here on Charles Schwab. Let me go into, and I'm not a huge guy on getting super complicated with a lot of indicators and stuff on technicals, but I do keep them up there every once in a while on some charts, and the money flow and the RSI is both on the heated side up here. So times when we've gotten up there, we have at least chopped and even reversed a little bit. So just leave that open to the open possibility. Let me zoom in a little bit, show you guys some short-term levels. So for right now, it held over this this downtrend line breakout. Also held the 200-day. If you get a close below it like you did back in here, and or a close underneath the 8 period right here, I think you can get a little move again if you get some additional repeat put flow in that name. But Schwab has been a pretty good pretty good name that's responded okay with the flow when you pair it with the technical charts. So let's keep that on watch. Okay, let me go over, and again, I apologize for skipping around, but let me go over TLT. So here is a chart on TLT, and there's a lot to go over here in this chart. You guys probably aware of the blow off move in bonds. That was pretty incredible. There was some flow on the way up. There were some risk reversals that just absolutely killed it. But just talking to kind of where we are now, there was this falling wedge that I noticed in these highs here, and from a technical standpoint, when we know from kind of a midterm perspective, when it was up here, it was extremely overheated on sentiment. The daily sentiment index was in the 90s on this thing, so it was definitely not the time to be getting long. Doesn't mean necessarily to short it right away, but it was definitely not the time to be looking for new longs up there in the 90s on the sentiment. It's flushed really nice, and it had this, like I said, had this falling wedge, broke out of the bottom side, which is actually really bearish in the short term, and came down and actually tested an old uptrend line that I had just kind of extended from these lows back here in late July. So the interesting thing now is to see that it's kind of failing right here. But the good news is we're going to get a real clear indication on TLT tomorrow and tomorrow's close. I think of the new direction. If it's going to break back into this formation, I think we're going to get another big move in TLT to the upside. And if it wants to have a pretty decent failure again and roll over, this is a great spot for it to start that process. So watch for any flow in TLT, and watch for, here's another chart that you can find on it real quick. Let's see. It was in a little bit of what I would call a parabolic chart on the daily. So again, this is a really important level here. So if it breaks back into this formation, you can get a move back to these, potentially back to these highs. But if it starts to hang around here and fails, then I think you got to be, this pattern, a break of this kind of a pattern would be pretty bearish. And as far as targets go, if it does hang under there, let me just give you some. I would go from the start of this parabolic pattern to the highs, and I would probably try to target the at least the 50 down in here. So down in the 131.59 range or something like that. But that's again, let's be a little patient. I think tomorrow is a good day to just, unless there's an incredible flow in TLT, kind of wait for that daily close. That'll give us some good sign. If we get back into it, I think you can be bullish, and if not, it hangs down here. You might even look for a move down to 127.60, something like that. So just something to watch on bonds. Okay, let's see what else. Okay, I'm gonna hop around a little bit, some individual names. Hopefully this will answer some of your questions. Let's go into, I'm gonna go into pins here. Okay, pull it up. So there was some nice flow in this name. All right. So here is the chart. This is again an hourly chart on Pinterest. Let me pull up the flow for us. Okay. Okay, so here is the flow. Okay. Appreciate your patience, guys. Okay, so here's the flow today on Pinterest. So you had this is actually a really good one to study, because I think Ronch was talking about it a little bit in the master course channel for those of you guys who were there this morning, and I think there was a really good lesson to be learned from this particular trade. So what happened is, off the morning, they came in and swept this, pretty much looks like an algo sweep here, but they hit this pretty good, the September 30 line, and this is again when we were right off the open today in this flash. So the thing with that is, again, they swept it. They started sweeping at 45 cents. Within 3 minutes, it had hit 90 cents on this spike that you can see here. Again, I don't know anyone that can hotkey it that quickly and get out of it like that. So that was a little bit too frantic and too quick for my particular taste in the flow and trading overall. But the key was that once it faded back and gave up, I think I wasn't watching the contract all day, but it gave back a lot of those gains, if not all of them, I believe. Then it came in and hit this thing at 10:02. These times are Pacific, by the way. And so they came in and hit this thing for a 1080 lot. Again, of those September 30s, they came back and hit it at that initial price of around 45 cents. And so the nice thing was them going back to it after this kind of a move, where this kind of a move where it rejected kind of pretty badly. You would think, oh, maybe this thing's going to roll over, or that move was just an algo move and you can't capitalize on it. But for them to hit it, as this thing's starting to show some small strength again, I think was a really good indication that, hey, I think this could be a real move and an actual playable move, for the non-algos and for human traders. So if you see, I have this trend line. Let me go. I like the hourly a little better, but it's a little bit of a wedge, and I drew it from the lows in here. I think it actually was 30-minute. My apologies. Yeah, it was 30. Okay. So I drew this wedge here from the lows back on the 5th of September. Once we broke underneath, you could see we kind of started some weakness. We came back up and retested the 12th, so early or kind of middle last week. Came up and actually tested on the flash this morning, which was a really good indication that this trend line that I was seeing was really legit. So I think Norris, I don't know if you're on here, but a couple guys in the room towards the end of the day were shouting out about Pinterest, and there was some really good call flow. Again, they hit it. They came back in and hit it again for 47 cents. 40 minutes later, they hit it again for 55 cents, and then I think they even hit it again. Yep, hit it again at the close for 74 cents. So I'm holding a little bit. I have some common here, and I'm actually got in kind of a lottery position here. I think I have like 50 cents average, something like that. I'm not 100% certain, but I bought some common as well. So it's a good, it's a trade that I would be in, just again because it's flow plus the technicals, and the fact that they came back after it was pretty telling, and then it closed above this area. So I think tomorrow, if you get an opening 30-minute candle that closes back below this pattern, I just, for me personally, I will get out of my my options, at least the weekly lottos, and then I will just keep my my common and give that a little bit more leash on the common. But you'd like to see it stay above this downtrend line here, which is around 30 bucks now. So, and that's on a closing basis of a 30-minute candle. So something to watch again tomorrow. If they keep hitting this thing could go. So something to watch there. Okay, let's go over LK. So I want to talk technically for a second, and then we can go into the flow. This is the 4-hour chart. And let me go, maybe 2-hour would be just as good. Oh, you know what? 1 second here. I think my TOS just crashed. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, give me 1 second, guys. Sorry about that. It's almost ready here. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Sorry, I got it back here. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. Um, okay. So here's LK. Let's go into, I think the 2 hour is fine. Let's see if it, yeah, it looks okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, it's a good chart. Okay. So it's a little, I know it's probably a little bit finite to see. I don't know how good the resolution is for you guys, but okay, so you could tell this is obviously a newer issue. These new issues, like like Beyond Meat and some of them have traded really clean on a technical basis and have actually responded pretty well to flow as well. So I've liked looking at this name quite a bit, made a couple of decent trades here and there on LK, but so you can tell once we broke this level here of 2175 in the 2 hour, had a pretty decent implosion off the IPO price, came up, tested, rejected, again same thing, rejected again. Once we finally broke over on the 23rd of July, and there was actually some really good flow there as well. We had a really nice spike of like $5 or something like that within a few sessions. So then again came back, tested this area here again, flashed and kind of made another move higher. And then once we closed below it on the 14th, on the post earnings reaction, it stayed below for a while, led to some weakness. But the nice thing is we did get some flow recently there that kind of caused a little reversal for us. There was some flow here last week. Was that last week? A week before last. But I'll go into the shorter term stuff just so you guys can see it here. I think it was late last week. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, late. Oh, this is actually today, isn't it? Okay, they swept this again here, guys, but I won't go into the flow from last week. But okay, so they took this contract right here. It's the same exact line they hit last week for 40 cents. So they hit the what I was mentioning to a couple people in the room was again a break over. Is obviously last week was a break back over that 2175 area, and you got that. Let me zoom out. Got that break on this candle right here on the open of the 13th, so Friday there. And you did get some, like I said, you had some flow last week. The nice thing is that during these little flashes here, if I can zoom in, these flashes flushed out a lot of shorter term kind of quick bulls here because it did hit those weeklies pretty bad. But for them to come down this morning, and as we were actually testing this 2175 area, for them to hit these same September calls was really a really good little, again, when they come back after these level, these names on any weakness, when it's still above a key level, that'd be a really good indication that using your technicals and stuff that there might be a real move coming. So it was nice to see it hold this area and make a nice push. I think those contracts are, yeah, for a moment they were just about 80 cents. So that was almost a double on the, I'm sorry, 70 cents on that, on the LK. Yeah, so it was, and I still have some of these myself. But if you want to look at some broader levels on the daily here, so now that we have broken above this next level, which was 22.59, I think you do have a potential to at least hit this downtrend line and maybe even fill this gap. So let's kind of look for a price somewhere around 23.75 would be so another dollar higher potentially, and then again a break back below that below even 22.59 on like an hourly basis or 2 hour candle would be an exit there. But pay attention to the flow there. This one can heat up and get some pretty fun short-term flow. And then again, if it breaks through this downtrend line too, it can even go some more. So let's keep that, keep LK on watch if you're not already in that. Let me go over, let's go over just the real quick. Just wanted to review TTD from today. We had some repeat sweeps. I know Ronch was asking about that. That's a name that can catch some really good orders. Let's see, I know we just had, yeah, okay, so here's the first one. So these are January 255 calls, obviously pretty expensive options in TTD. And I don't want to make this too complicated here, except for just this little area here, guys. They hit calls on this morning on this move, and they went like 30x. It was an incredible move. I clipped them like an idiot, but for like for way too soon. But this name when it heats up can be incredible. So just wanted to point this one out. Those Januaries can be early, but I do think a daily move above this area here, this high, which was 217.67. Yeah, and today's high, yeah, pretty similar. So I think this area is a good one. So 217, let's call it 217.36, a daily close over that level, I think could really get this thing moving. So really good flow. You had this first one, like I said, January 255s at 12:23 near the close, and then they came in right before the close and hit the 250s of November. So again, from a flow interpretation standpoint, for those of you guys aren't aware with how I interpret things, I really like to see that where they go, they're out in January, for example, expiration, they come in and hit November's, so they step up a little bit. That's a really good sign. So again, if you compare with these technical levels, or if you see like any weeklies come in, I think that's going to be an explosive one to watch for sure. If this thing wakes up, it's going to be some fun. So let's watch the 217.36 on the daily close over that would be a good thing. And again, any short-term flow there would be weeklies or a couple weeks out would be noticeable as well. Let me see. Okay, let me do this, guys. I've got about 7 other names that we could go through. I don't want to take up too much of your time. So if you guys want me to keep going, answer your questions, I've got, let me just tell you what names. I've got OSTK, there's been some flow, Snap, Chipotle had a technical trade today, and then I've got some trades that are setting up beyond that. So if you want me to keep going, let me know, and if not, I can just answer your questions. So you guys throw it out in the chat if you guys want to you guys good to keep going? Any questions or? I'm not seeing any questions here. See, Charlie, are you still on? I'm not seeing. I don't think he's on. Okay. Oh, you know what? Here we go. It's on. I'm sorry, you guys. It's on a different. I apologize. It's a little different, guys. When I do my own webinars, I use my own GoToMeeting, so I don't. It's a little different setup. But okay. There's some. Let me. Okay. Okay. I see some questions here. Just give me a sec. I'll piece through them. Okay. Lift. Okay. Review. Work. Okay. Work. I can go over that one. Okay. Keep going. Okay. Okay. I guess I'll keep going, and then I'll hit some of these names. I'm sorry, I wasn't seeing your questions. I was looking in a different section that I guess because I'm not the host and just it wasn't showing it to me. So I apologize, guys. I'll see those now. Okay, so real quick, so I can just hammer through the flow names, and then we can go over setups and stuff. So here's OSTK because I wanted to talk about all the flow there. That's just been absolutely ridiculous. Let's see. Okay, so let's go into, I think the hourly's been pretty good. Yeah, okay. So look, this is upsetting. It's actually really upsetting because I missed most of it, but I wanted to review it real quick because it's just been such a good trade based on flow. So let's go and do it here. Okay. So you had, okay, so this is the first one that came through. So on the 10th of September, they hit the I guess this week's September 2250 calls, and I think I guess they didn't repeat that one. It's just it was just one, I think. Okay. But here's the kicker. So this thing's been trying. I know it's kind of messy chart here, but what I want you to pay attention to is this first area down here. Well, and you can see. Oops. Let me actually eliminate the Fibonacci's. That's a whole new lesson. But you can see this downtrend line here that I had. It broke out, and unfortunately, it did fake me out a little bit, and I didn't get in because you can see it actually had one candle where it came back below, which can happen in technical analysis, and why pairing a lot of this stuff with the flow is really transformed my particular trading. Because the likelihood of something that's succeeding is so much more likely when you get flow and the technicals, as opposed to just technical stuff. But you can see here this move, when it broke back over, ignited obviously an incredible rally. You had bull flag here, then bull flag here on some smaller term time frames. That guy that I just mentioned, this order, hit it on the 10th. So he hit it here after it already had this huge move from like 15 and change to over 20 bucks. So, my instinct is going, just as a human, you're like, okay, no, this guy's gotta be wrong. It's gonna have to pull in. It's gone from 15 to 20 in like 4 days. There's no way he's gonna get paid. And sure enough, so I'm saying you gotta pair it technicals and flow, right? It rejects initially, so you can see that it rejected here on this opening candle, the 10th of this kind of downtrend line that I had written down. And then it did get above, and it held into the close on the 10th, which showed, what, this has more steam. And sure enough, went from the close that day of like 21 and change all the way up to 29. So an incredible move that the technicals and the flow led to some really good trades for those that were in there. I know Brown even scalped it on the short side as well, and just it's a crazy mover. But on the put side, guys, I wanted to go over a put sweep that they hit. Where was it? Here we go. So yesterday at 11:38 Pacific, so pretty near the close, they hit these September 18th puts, and I'm thinking, again, after all this, they hit puts right here in this candle. So it goes from 29 down to 20 and change, and they're hitting, weekly puts here, and I'm going, okay, that's no way. They're not going to get paid again. There's no way, right? They missed the move, and sure enough, what happened? It broke back under this downtrend line, broke this little support area that I had to at $20.43 on the hourly, and sure enough, those things are, I think, now at more than a double. I marked this, I think, middle of the day, this 155, but they're at least at a double, I think, right now. So again, OSTK technicals and flow has been incredible. They did come in, I think they actually hit a call sweeper today. Maybe not. Thought I saw one. Let's see. There might have been. Let's see. Okay. Let's see here, guys. Hold on one second. I just want to make sure that I'm getting some of these questions here. Okay. Yeah, well, you guys, I don't, Yost, if you're on this thing, if you have the flow from this OSTK, thought there was a call sweeper today, but anyway, just if there was, we can review it. But just more importantly, this OSTK has been incredible when you put, again, technicals with the flow. It's been an incredible mover. I would treat these though, just from my perspective, as a little more on the lotto side, because it's just nutty, this kind of a movement. But yeah, it can be insane. So there's that. Let's go over Snap. Unfortunately, I wasn't really paying attention this time around to Snap. I have, recently, and I don't have perfect technicals here, guys, so I apologize. But you did have a really nice move up. It's just the daily chart here. Yeah, had a really, really good day in Snap. If you look at the flow here, okay. Yeah, so this is interesting. So they started hitting these snap calls, these 1650s for this week's expiration. They hit them, started hit them the 6th of September. And interesting to note, obviously they pulled this thing pretty decent. Let's see, those were hit the 6th. So okay, so they were hitting to this bullish day, and then they pulled it really significantly. So those guys would have gotten pretty much drained out completely. But the interesting thing is they hit some stuff more recent. Let's see. And again, I don't have it notated for like maybe yesterday's action if it came in, but they did hit this off the open. They did hit these guys off the open, which I thought, and I think there was some other orders that Jay was talking about here on the Snap. So in terms of in terms of price levels and stuff on Snap, I going forward, let me see if I can pull up a daily and give you guys just some broader levels here. It's got some room. I think this time it's got some room. It's forming a little bit of a I'll draw a little pattern here, kind of like a parabolic a little bit. So see something like that. So I've more recently I've been experimenting a lot with parabolic charts. It's been really, really good stuff. So this is actually something I'd like to see. So if you go, let's get this one saved, and then let's zoom in. So if we go, let's go like 4 months. So we can see a level we want it to hold over. Okay, so I'd like to see Snap hold. It's obviously pretty, incredible move today. From a closing basis, I'd like to see it hold up here. So somewhere in 16, above 1655, 1660-ish on a closing basis. And then if it gets more flow, I think you might be able to start targeting, 1734, then these ultimate highs up here. But after a day like this, I would look for at least one little quick test and maybe some repeat flow in Snap. But I'll probably start paying attention more to it now. If it gaps up, congrats to you guys that are in there, but I probably I'll probably let it go myself. If it gaps up and starts running away, I'll be focused elsewhere. So interesting little pattern here to watch though on that Snap, along with the flow. A quick one on Chipotle, and then I'm going to go over some stuff going forward into next week. So here is CMG, and it wasn't a flow trade. This is very, very rare to get flow in this name, but and I won't even, there's a whole webinar we can go over on how to catch this this huge top, and a few of us caught this, and Lucci, crushed it as well. It's different webinar. But as far as where the levels now, I had this is it 15 minutes, actually 30. So I'll zoom in short term. So short term, I was looking at the high here from this this push. It was like 810-ish. The high is in here. This is again a 30-minute chart, 810.10, something like that, 810.20. And I thought, you know what? Hey, if we can get a move over that area, that's going to be a great. I didn't have this. I had this downtrend line, but I didn't know it wasn't solidified really yet. I thought, this would just be a good call play. And sure enough, this morning moved pretty aggressively, almost too quick to get in on the call side for some of you guys. But some options that I was looking at went from about 7 to I think 13 and change on this move. It was pretty disgusting. But no flow here, like I said. But the 15-minute chart gave you just enough time to get in. Didn't have a retest, but did kind of on the second candle of the day here, at least gave you a little bit of time if you were able to catch that. So that was the first level that I was looking at. The next thing that I was talking to Ranch more importantly about was this former downtrend line that we gapped over on the kind of the blow off day, and then once we broke back underneath it, caused some real blood. So I knew this area was significant. I just simply extended this downtrend line on Thinkorswim and wanted to see how price reacted once it got there. And sure enough, you can see on a 15-minute chart, here is that area. So it had a really nice push, obviously, and it was interesting to see it reject very, very nice off this downtrend line, which told me that was legit. Ranch and I were looking at this same thing. I think Ranch was looking more at the tape, but the fun thing here was that the tape confirmed what the technicals were showing as well. So really good opportunity here to play. I don't know if it was really worth maybe puts necessarily. I don't just buy arbitrarily, without evidence, technical evidence or flow changing dramatically. As far as a directional, but as far as selling calls, like after this first candle, that was definitely something, to start writing a little bit. You could sense the euphoria, and the premiums were getting super jacked on the weeklies here. So you could have written some calls there pretty nicely. So going forward, let's watch these levels now. So we've got this, let's watch the downtrend line. Let's watch the support again, 810.07, 810, whatever, 810 call it, on the 30-minute, and then watch this downtrend line as well. If we break over that, then I think we can start moving, even higher. And on the rare occasion this thing gets flow, I would definitely pay attention to it. It's, again, very rare to catch any type of sweeper action at all on that one. All right, so something to watch there. Wanted to go over SE because it is a little bit flow based. Let's see. Okay. And I will get into some of the names you're asking about. This is just wanted to go over this one and a couple of very, very quick ones. Here's the daily chart on SE. And again, I want to keep it simple. Just know they've been hitting the, I can just pull up real quick what they've been hitting. Oh, shoot, it's not going to give it to me. I think they hit it again today. Here we go. Put sellers. This is really strong. So they've been hitting the January 33 calls, I believe, is the one they've been hitting. And now to see this January 27 opening put seller sweep, that's really, really strong. So if there's a name, like I am definitely looking to build a significant position in this, both the common and probably some of those January options. They're probably playing for a move back to this gap fill. So again, this is a nice daily channel. It's been a little bit dirty on, you can tell if I went to an hourly, this thing, it's had short-term call flow. It's been the bottom portion of the channel has been kind of nice, plus this 29.62 support. They caught some flow in here, had a really nice run, but as far as short-term, I think the top side of this channel has been a little bit dirty. So I'd watch more for the daily close at this point, unless they come in and sweep weeklies or something like that. If it comes down and tests this level again, that 29.62, I think that's going to be an incredible opportunity to write some put spreads on this SE, and then even start getting into some of those January 33 calls. They've been hammering those pretty good. So if you get that, that'd be a Christmas gift. If you get the break over this on a daily basis with the close over this downtrend line, I think that's a move to get into a long-term swing with that $36 target at least. Let flow be your guide, price as well. Obviously, if we were to break, and have a daily close underneath 29.62, that for me would probably be just kind of a back off, clear out the trade for now and kind of reassess. But hopefully that's a good little name for you guys to kind of watch going forward. Couple macro things that I wanted to keep you guys aware of. 2 trades, and then I think we'll be pretty much good here. Actually 3. Caterpillar. Just want you guys to be aware of, and gals, of this weekly formation. It broke down really clean, tapped or almost tapped essentially this 200 day moving average. I had mentioned 112 in the steam room. For those of you guys who were there, mentioned 112 was an incredible area to buy. Sadly, on the 26th, 26th, I actually missed the buy, even though I called the level. But it just tapped 111.75 beautifully, and then has caught some really nice flow. Even caught a put selling sweep last week that was really nice. But again, weekly basis, this could be a real big breakout. So if we get a weekly move, weekly close over 135, I want to see it significant. Let's call it 135. 136 would be a better area, but like a weekly close over 136, I think this thing could really get heated up, and again, could be a nice long-term position for you guys. So again, watch the flow there. Here's the chart. So some definite levels. It's a little bit dirty, I apologize, but there was this hourly chart here was really clean. It broke out as well on the September 4th, had a really great pop, then consolidated, and then they hit some. I believe they actually sold puts. I forget what day they sold puts. I think it was this. Yeah, I think it was the 9th. Yeah, it was, or at least into this move they sold 122 puts. I think it's Friday. So September 6th. They sold the 122 weekly puts for last week, I believe it was, and sure enough, you had this really nice move. So again, it's like sometimes you guys have to ignore your emotion a little bit, and obviously some of you guys can fade it to some extent, but I was thinking, oh man, I've already missed it. Bummed out. I called the 112 level, didn't get an opportunity to get in. No way this put seller is going to be right, and sure enough, he strikes gold, and that thing went to zero as this thing had a really nice move. So watch Caterpillar. Might be a little bit, again, heated in the short term, but if they consolidate it up here and then it breaks that weekly level and catches more flow, I think it's, you got to just, again, follow the flow in the charts. So there's that. Okay. I think that's, yeah. Caterpillar weekly, and then another name I want to just keep you guys aware of is the NVIDIA, and we'll have about I want to take questions after this. Actually, let me just pull it up. Here we go. Okay, so here's the NVIDIA weekly chart, you guys. Again, it's getting to the point where you may need a little consolidation. So I would love some, actually. I would love in the next few weeks if it was able to tap like the 169, 170 range and give us a really good long-term entry. So if we do get market weakness, I would be aware of NVIDIA of this macro level. So that would be a great, I think that'd be a great pickup down there. Again, kind of like 168, 169 in there, and watch the weekly flow as well on that one. Okay. I could go into, I've got stuff on Tesla and BKNG and Visa. I got some good levels on Roku as well, but I don't want to take too much of your time, guys. So let me answer a few questions. You guys are really asking about work. Let me just let me go over that. I don't know. I didn't, I can look in the room for flow there. I haven't been tracking it, just to be honest. I think it is an IPO. Once there was some flow back in here in early to mid July that work caught, that hit a couple small, some decent winners on some of these green days and stuff, but it started to get really dirty. And something you guys can pay attention to is, not all flow is the same. And so what you want to really pay attention to and track is, if there's a new IPO, it might be better, especially if you don't have clean technicals on it, to just track the first few sweepers that you have in that name and just see how they perform. Because some names just don't, like sweepers, they strike out all the time. And other names, like for example, BKNG, if there's a sweeper in that name, I'll follow it blindfold. It's like gold. So some names are going to respond a lot better than others, and I think you guys need to really, try to learn and do a little research of which respond best to the flow before just kind of going, oh, this is a decent order, I'm going to follow it gung-ho blindfolded on a name you may not know how it responds. So this one got a little bit dirty. I noticed a lot of the orders weren't making money, and so I wanted to just be a little more patient here. The chart obviously is pretty nasty, this downtrend. So I wanted to kind of let this thing develop. I kind of want to wait now for this daily downtrend to break out personally. If you have a particular order, and I'm not sure who asked the question on work, but whoever did, if you want to hit me up on Twitter, at option trader TR the number 8 ER, or if you're in the Steam room, you can direct message me and I can give you some levels. But I haven't tracked kind of the small flow recently there because I just want to see the daily chart clean up a bit. So I apologize about that. Yeah. So. 100 puts. Okay. So let me actually, let me see if I can get a short-term level for you. Okay. Well, here's one, just so you're aware. Okay, so this right here, I would consider a higher low. So I would not want this recent low of, what is that, 2420 to be, if we break under that, that's going to be, I would think, pretty bearish on Slack. So something to watch. I think there's a little hourly level here as well. You can see 2733. Excuse me, 2733 resistance. So that's a couple small levels for you, best I can do. I will go over Roku real quick. Again, there's been some flow there. I don't want to go over the other trade that we crushed it on. And Lucy just went to a different stratosphere, but on this blow off top move and another lesson we can go into. But for right now on Roku, I think a really good level you guys want to be aware of is this level up here, which is 153.04. Let me see what time frame it's on. I think it could be 30-minute. Yeah, we can go down to 30-minute on that. I always prefer hourly, but 30 minutes fine. And actually, if I want to get really detailed about this, guys, it's going to be 152.86-ish. You can see like this high here from the 12th of September, this high here from the 16th, which was Monday. The lows back in here, you can tell like 152. It's right in there, like 152.80-ish again. So like a 30-minute close above there with shorter term flow is going to get me looking actually long on the Roku. Let me see. Work back here. I think there was some recent flow. I think yesterday there was something. Yeah, here we go. October 175s were swept. It's a little bit outside the money for me personally. I'd rather see it swept at like the 155 calls and not 175 calls. But it's in order nonetheless, so it's just something to watch if we get that break over that level. Again, 150, 152.85. It's kind of a range, right? The 152.85. If it broke over 153 convincingly, is when I would get going on it pretty good. So, and then downside, I unfortunately don't have great targets downside right now. Might have a trend line like this. I'll put this in there. And again, this is how a lot of stuff, guys, it's just technical analysis is kind of trial and error, right? So like I'll throw this little uptrend line in. Looks like it's tested once here, once again here, and then recently today. And let's see if this if it comes down, like for example, tomorrow and tests this and bounces, that's gonna convince me that I need to watch this little uptrend line here as well. So, but it's just a thesis right now. The bigger area is going to be that level I talked to you guys about on the upside on Roku. Okay. There's that. So going over Roku. Oh, if that does bust over, let me just give you guys a quick price target. There's a gap here, which I think could be interesting. That 160 gap. I'd probably start targeting 156.27 for real short-term stuff, and then maybe the lows of that gap at like 150, 160, 159.81 are some smaller levels there. Okay, wanted to rapid fire. Here's a BKNG. You don't get a pattern in price line very often, and the chart here is showing some really good levels. I don't know if you guys know Yosti in the Steam room, but I was mentioning yesterday when it gapped down, I'm like, oh, so let's watch the support of 2037, and God, that would have been an insane buy yesterday. That thing just had a 50-point ramp or 45-point ramp from that 2037 flash low. So that's definitely going to be, I want you guys to watch that 2037 on a 30-minute basis going forward as support, big time support for the BKNG is one to watch. In the shorter term, I do think we might have a bullish pattern here, but just again, to be determined. It's like a little ascending triangle. You got this uptrend line, then you got this flat resistance right now at 20, call it 2080, it's fine for the resistance. I have some charts here that'll help you. Again, flow wise, you never get BKNG flow. If you do, like I said, I will be into that flow blindfolded. It's so accurate. And if you pair it with technicals, that would be a huge position for me. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I think this little parabolic pattern, you see this little parabolic curve that I have drawn on the downside. If this thing does break, I think you could get a nice little tap of that 2037 again. So that actually could be a good trade on the put side, guys. So if you get a move, and it could be 15-minute as well. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go 15-minute. So if you get a 15-minute close underneath 2074, then I think you might be able to target pretty good downside move. Again, it doesn't have a direct correlation with the SPY overall and the S&P directionally, but if everything's breaking out and this thing breaks down, I wouldn't necessarily go all in on puts. So I wouldn't want to fade the overall market too much. But if the market's starting to roll over, for example, into the Fed tomorrow, something like that, or a negative reaction to the Fed, and this thing breaks down, then definitely let's be more apt to grab puts there. So, all right, it's pretty illiquid, so you got to be careful on those options on that. Let's go over Visa. Again, really can be quick here. This has responded very, very well to flow, both calls and puts. So let's just watch for any shorter term flow here. Disregard this channel. I want you guys to watch this wedge that I have, and I'll make it in white. So I want you to watch this downtrend line and this uptrend line, which we touched today. And okay, perfect. Okay, uptrend line as well. So right now, as of tomorrow, that uptrend line would be at 175.15, and then the upside breakout would be kind of, again, middle of the day would be like 178. Again, on the hourly would probably be the best chart to watch. But again, flow's been pretty good here. So if you get some repeat flow, especially short term, I would definitely hit the Visa either direction. If just based on this wedge. All right. I think they actually hit it bullish last week with some time, so I would probably lean a little bit bullish, but again, I won't jump in until we break out of this, and then you can target this gap up here at 181.62. So if we break out of that, break 178, you hit 181.62 gap, I think, pretty quickly on that one on Visa. All right, and then I got BYND levels for you guys, and then it's going to seem a little bit dirty, but just watch the flow there. This hourly uptrend, it's too dirty probably for you guys to see it, but we did break the uptrend. Doesn't mean it's a short. If we were to kind of break this 159.75-ish significantly and get some put flow, I would look at it. What I would like to see, for those of you guys who don't know how I interpret flow, again, if we're at 160 here, if you're looking on the put side, I'd like to see like the 158s, weeklies get hit, or I wouldn't want to see like the 145s. That's just too much of a lotto, too far out of the money. And conversely, I wouldn't want to see some guy hit the 165 puts really either. I mean, I might get in that, but again, I'd like to see kind of right at the money or just a couple strikes out of the money for me short term this week or next week would be something to watch on that one. And then again, it could stay above this area and break out too. This has just been a really clean name. So if you get a move on the upside, guys, if you get a move over 161.89 on the hourly, that is going to be a very, very bullish sign on BYND. So again, 161.89 is the resistance right now on the top side. And that would take you, by the way, it would take you at least to like low 170s, probably get you up to 171.80, something like that, with some flow if it were to breach that 161.89 level. All right. Okay, and I got one last name. I got Tesla for you, and then I think we're done. If you guys have any questions, but here is the Tesla chart, and again, it's not a it's not it. I don't want to go over in this webinar. I don't want to go over the previous Tesla levels and stuff, but here's the daily chart. We came in today and we tested the 8 period, this 8 EMA, like I've talked about. Nice that we held that. That right there was at the lows of the day at 240.37. I think if you can get a shorter term move, let me go to some shorter term charts here. I think it's this one. Yeah, okay. It's a bit dirty here, so I apologize. You did have a parabolic pattern that broke here, so there was a great opportunity to sell some calls. And there's a couple little put scalps here and there, but it was really good call selling opportunity once this parabolic move broke. Now in here, once we've kind of caught up with this is the hourly chart, we caught up with the 50 period moving average. It's more of a wait and see. So now you've got some really good levels to trade against. If you get a move and it breaks this 50 period on the downside, which is going to be, let's call it, yeah, 240.50, those, or even breaks today's lows, that 240.37, it's going to then be a nice short, in my opinion. And then conversely, if you break these shorter term trend lines on, so if you break like, a little bit harder to see, like 245, I think with conviction on Tesla, then you can see some interesting levels. Let me show you, if it does break 245 on Tesla, here's what I would target. Go to the 15-minute chart. Okay, so back in here, once it broke out of this level, which was 248.22 on the 15-minute chart, it had that really nice, again, very quick scalp, but it had a really nice move and caught some short-term flow. So if we do break the 245 level, let's watch how it responds to 248.22 on the 15-minute. And then if it breaks that as well and gets some flow, some really short-term flow, you could play it, but just be careful. Take some gains off the table when you have them pretty quickly in that name. All right. All right, you guys, is there anything we can go over? Tried to go through things as quick as possible. Sorry if I rushed you on the back end of that. Again, feel free to send me a message on Twitter or follow me. More than welcome to ask me something there, or direct message me in the Steamroom if you're a part of the chat. We all good, guys? Again, no problem waiting for a lot of the candles to close tomorrow, even though you may feel a little bit of FOMO, but Fed days can be pretty nuts and you can get shaken around. So if you want to just take a step back and kind of keep the bigger picture in mind, watch the daily closes, that I wouldn't blame you at all. So. All right, I think we're good. Okay, I think I'm gonna end it here. I don't know if Charlie's still on, but yeah, I think I'll just wrap it up. All right, guys, have a good rest of your day, and I hope I did okay for Jay. All right, peace.